My name is Josh, and welcome to Hide and Seek Archives, a podcast where we talk about things supernatural, cryptid, or unexplained. And we are live. Welcome, everybody. We have today Dave and Shane with us from T.A.A.P.S from Texas. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We are doing
pretty good.
Doing good. We appreciate you coming on.
Well, we appreciate you having us.
Absolutely. Looking forward to this. Hey, before we get going, I'd like you guys to do introductions. And I know, let's start with Shane, because Shane, I know you're the founder of T.A.A.P.S.
I think Shane got frozen.
Oh,
Shane's frozen.
Well, let's wait for Shane to come back for a second. He may have to drop out and come back in.
Yeah, I can't hear him or see him.
Yeah.
Let me just shoot him a quick text.
He may be trying to get back on.
But we're going to talk. I know we're going to discuss a few different things. We're going to talk about the big thicket because these guys go out in the big thicket quite a lot, if I heard correctly.
Well, let's. I guess while we're waiting on Shane, Dave, why don't you give a little introduction of yourself and your history and a little background and how you got into this and how you ended up involved with T.A.A.P.S.
All right. Well, my name's Dave. I'm down here in Texas in the Baytown area. My background's pretty much I was in the Air Force. I was a survival instructor, life support technician, and got out of the Air Force and flew for Continental Airlines for 25 years and retired. Grew up in Florida, so I'm very familiar with the skunk ape down there, and that's always piqued my interest. And started doing some more and more research about Bigfoot, and found out about probably about 10 years ago about the Sam Houston National Forest and just everything it had to offer. And went out there and had a lot of experiences in Sam Houston and been hooked ever since. So I was involved with another organization. We'll just leave the name out. But I have been to Area X. I've experienced everything there is to experience out there. So these animals are real. I don't think they're some weird creature that just, goes into a fifth dimension and shows up when it wants to. I mean, everything I've seen, I do believe that it's more of a hominid than an ape. That's just my opinion. So, and yes, the big thicket is an unusual place. Shane's got a lot more experience at the big thicket than I do. He's had a lot more stuff happen to him out there. So we'll just wait till he gets on. He can talk about his background. There he is.
Hey, I lost everything for a minute there. I'm sorry about that, guys.
Oh, that's fine.
That's all right. It happens.
I switched to my phone because it's actually got a little better signal, even though the Wi-Fi was showing perfect.
Yeah,
Never know with Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
it actually looks a lot clearer. That's weird.
Yeah, it does. The video's good and clear. Well, we had Dave giving a little bio and a little information on his background. So Shane, do the same. Give us a little background. How did you get into this? Tell us a little about T.A.A.P.S. How did you get? What was your goal with starting T.A.A.P.S. And tell us what T.A.A.P.S. stands for.
Sure, absolutely. Well, actually, starting with me, I've always watched stuff that had anything to do with Bigfoot growing up. Hell, it's interesting, and it's a lot funner to believe in things than to not, right? So
yeah.
And my dad actually, he was Special Forces. His buddies are Special Forces, of course. And they used to tell me stories about them training up in Washington and being up there and having rocks thrown at him and everything. My dad used to make fun of one of his friends named Bear. The guy was named Bear for a reason. He was a big old guy. And but that guy'd be shaking in fear. So that's why he'd make fun of him. And ever since he told me those stories when I was younger, man, I was pretty much attached to it by then. And so finally, I just decided to get into it, especially after listening to so many other podcasts and finding out that Sasquatch is in Texas, I was like, what? That blew my mind, But on the same note, I was in Central Texas and Abilene. I never really traveled East Texas. So I knew we had forest out there, but to me, I'm just picturing bigger mesquite trees, you know? So once I got out there and realized that, no, it's an actual forest and thick forest, you know, it was game on at that point. And, you know, I decided to start that group TAAPS, which stands for Texas Acknowledgment, Awareness, and Preservation of Sasquatch. Mainly, you know, I wanted people to be able to come into the group and have the ability to go out with us, take people out to experience what we've experienced. Because it's hard to do that with a lot of other groups, you know. I mean, you really got to get an invite for somebody to take you someplace. They want to keep all their areas secret.
Yeah.
And I'm just not about that. You know, I want to take as many people that want to go, you know, as long as it doesn't become a circus, obviously. But,
you bet.
And the more people that go, you know, the more awareness is brought up. And that's the main thing is people, you know, acknowledging the Sasquatch is here and being aware of what you're looking for when you're out there. And the preservation part, you know, a lot of people think, how are you preserving Sasquatch? And they don't understand that the preserving has a lot more to do with Sasquatch than just with Sasquatch. For a fine example on that is what everybody always says, pack out what you pack in, you know, keep the forest clean. There's nothing more aggravating, I'm sure you all would agree, when you're going out to an area and you find the spot at the end of the dirt road where somebody's dropped all their mattresses and TVs and trash. You know, staying away from that's the big deal. It's preserving the forest. It's their house, not ours, you know.
You bet.
And I think we lost Josh.
I think he's still there. I think he's just got the video off for a second, I think.
Yeah, I'm not out to, you know, absolutely prove the Sasquatch is real, because I think it's been proven too many times before.
Yeah.
You know, mainstream is going to have to open their mind to admit it. That would be the biggest and hardest feat to overcome there.
Right.
But as far as proving the existence of Bigfoot, that's already been done, you know?
You bet. So how long has TAAPS been together now? Or have you had this?
Actually, it's only been 2.5 years, I think. So not long.
So when you started getting into the subject and getting out into the woods and doing stuff, when did you start having experiences?
Well, once I learned that they were in Texas, I actually got out a map of all the forests in Texas, started looking at them all. And I tried to find an area that had plenty of area to hide, you know, plenty of cover, not a lot of travel of people. Any forest in Texas is going to have a great food source, but a good water source around was a big thing. And I actually ended up pinpointing a big thicket right on that pipeline of the big Sandy unit where you, me, and Dave went. That was the first place I picked out where I thought, you know, if there's going to be Sasquatch in these forests, this is going to be a great place for it. And it turned out I was dead on, you know, absolutely dead on.
Wow.
So you had experiences pretty much when you first went out then?
Oh yeah. The first time we went there, I went out there with my brother-in-law, and I want to say it was still light when we got out there. It was probably, I think it was October, November. It was probably about 5:30, and when we had gotten out of the car at the end of the pipeline, I had went to take a look at a creek, and he was over taking care of a little business after a long trip, and started yelling my name to come back over there. You know, sounded like he was in a bit of a panic, so ran back over there and just kind of freaked out because he had just been getting growled at. And so, you know, got his composure back, and we started looking around. We didn't find anything. And of course, we made the one amateur mistake, you know, that I still make to this day sometimes. We didn't look up when we were searching. That comes into play later, because later on that night, we decided to go on a hike. And we kind of went into the, I guess would have been the western part of the thicket on the opposite side of the pipeline. One side is a no hunting zone. The other side is a hunting zone. So we kind of went into the hunting zone a little bit, and probably hiked around a couple hours, and then came back out on the pipeline. We had this little deer come run out of the brush, and it was petrified, panting, you know, a bit running for its life. And it kind of darted over the other side of the pipeline, but wouldn't go in. It hit the brakes and then came back to the center of the pipeline, wouldn't go back in from where it came from. Looked at us, and finally it started coming right up to us. And we both just kind of sat there looking at it for a minute. It was looking at us for a minute. We were just like, what the hell's going on? And I remember hearing a lot of the stories about people interrupting hunts, Sasquatch hunts, and something like this happening to them. So my first thought was, man, is that what's going on right now? And about that time, I'm going through that thought process. That deer takes off and kind of catty corners us and goes back into the thicket. And right about that time, on the right side where he originally came out, you kind of hear, just imagine a real big guy just kind of settling in his 2 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of hear like crunch, crunch. And then on the left side of the pipeline where he wouldn't go in, the deer, this tree just gets shoved over. You hear the popping, the cracking of it snapping. And I mean, it sounded like absolute thunder. And we were both just kind of shocked at that point. And I said, you know what? I think we interrupted a hunt. And I said, we just need to go back to camp. And we'll inspect this tomorrow and see what's going on. But
yeah,
we went back to camp, and we only sat down for about 10 minutes. And suddenly you hear this thing come down this tree and land. It sounds like it lands on 2 feet, like a big old tutu. And then it just kind of runs off, and you can hear it run off. You know, and this, whatever it is, it's pretty big. And this is the same spot where he got growled at earlier that I told you we never looked up. If we had looked up, we may have seen this thing. So we don't know how long it had been up in that tree waiting for this deer, because it was real close to the same location. And but the next day we go back over there where that tree got pushed over, and you know, we find the tree. It's real easy. It's the only tree that's knocked over, and it's broke up about 6 foot tall. And at the base of the tree is 2 footprints, nice big ones, perfect. So it looked like it just stood against the base of the tree and just grabbed it and just broke it. And we were excited. We started taking pictures of the tree and everything else. You know, another amateur move as we started taking pictures of the tree, and we were trampling all over those 2 footprints. So that was a huge mistake on our part. You know, talking about amateur hour. I mean, we still do it. We still screw up. You know.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, we'll be amateurs forever. Just, you know, if there's one thing I'm good at, screwing up, I do is just stay in practice sometimes. So.
Never ending learning process.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There don't seem to be an art to the Bigfoot research.
No.
No, there's no skill set. Just, you know, stumble and fall, and you know.
Yeah, you can't even call it a discipline. So
no,
and it's always
can't.
different. It always seems to be different wherever you go too.
Oh yeah, well, absolutely.
And when you think you've got them figured out, then they change the rules. Then they come up with a whole new playbook.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
So yeah,
well, that's another sign of how intelligent they really are, huh?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I was, you know, when I went home, we were telling my wife about the what happened and stuff. And plus, before we'd gotten there, we'd stopped at the Sam Houston National Forest for a night. We got this huge, probably by 11 o'clock at night. Just imagine if you're asleep out in the woods and you wake up and you go for that full body stretch, that, you know, but imagine you're 800 pounds and doing that.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was the first vocal that I had ever heard actually was there and him. So that was pretty exciting. And, but that was before we had gotten to that big thicket. But like I said, when we got back home and telling my wife about all this, you know, I'm thinking in the back of my head, you know, she's just nodding her head, smiling up and down, and believing me because I'm her husband. But really, she's thinking, this dude's freaking crazy, you know. So I finally think, you know, I'm taking her out there. And I finally, I think it was about 2 weeks later, and it's just going to be her and I. We get out there probably about 10:30 at night, you know, maybe closer to 11 p.m. And we don't even have our tent like halfway set up, and it's an instant tent too. So, but we're about halfway into that, and all of a sudden they start doing that whoop, the Sierra sound whoop, you know, perfect whoop.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm talking about, Todd. So,
yeah.
And they went on all night long like that, and you know, without going into the whole story, which could take quite a while, it happened for 2 nights in a row. Or they just went nuts. And on the second night is when I think I was telling y'all about Probably about 3 in the morning, they had just stopped whooping. There's a lot of sheet metal out there from old homesteads, as you know, Dave. And
Did you get your bike yet?
no, not yet, but give me time. But about 3 o'clock in the morning, they stopped whooping, and it sounded like a baby chimpanzee just got super excited. They started making the monkey sounds, basically, just going nuts. Just imagine a baby chimpanzee just going nuts. And then he stops for a second, and then all of a sudden you just hear him just beating sheet metal like crazy. It's almost like Mama handed him a pot from under the cover, And go at it, stay busy for a while. But it went on for a good hour, and then, after about 30 minutes, it just got tired. We were like, let's make that stop, But he would stop, randomly and do his little chimpanzee noises, this must have been a really young one.
Yeah.
But it was probably the coolest thing I've ever heard.
That is cool.
Yeah. And, but that made her a firm believer. And when we went back and, discussing this, we were at a barbecue down the street, one of my neighbor's house. And so then his curiosity peaks and he wants to go. So I'm like, all right. So the very next weekend, we go right back out there. It's her, my wife, me, and the neighbor. And, it's one of those situations where you're praying something's going to happen because you done brought this guy out here to turn him into a believer. And if nothing happens, you're like, dang it. But,
yeah.
And right about 11 o'clock, 11 p.m., Dave, 11 p.m.
Yep.
Big Sandy unit, always 11 p.m. I don't know what's up with that. But so right about 11, we got this whoop that was loud and it was long and drawn out. And it was right across on the other side of the pipeline from us. And it was a whoo, just deep, long, loud. And his jaw hit the ground. And, we've got thermals at this point. I'm ready to go out there looking for this sucker, but nobody wants to leave the camp now. I get it. But I'm excited. I want to go look, But, I think it was the next weekend we came out one more time. Me and my wife did a day hike out there and went to where we heard that real long, drawn out whoop, and that's where we found the structure up on top of a hill, really fresh one. So had 3 big body impressions that were kind of laying under the structure. So that was cool, talking about the solidifying what you hear with actual evidence. It's always a plus.
Oh yeah. Hey Dave, I want to apologize. I think I interrupted. I think you weren't finished telling your.
No, I've had a lot of. One of my first experiences I've ever had with Bigfoot was actually at out there at Stubbefield. That's where I had my very first visual. Was over there in the Wilderness Lake area. Back in that area. I was out there with a couple of guys. We were just walking around about 10 o'clock in the morning, and we kept hearing this little chatter. And I kept telling them, I'm like, okay, guys, quit mumbling and turn around and talk to me. And they're all like, Dave, we're not mumbling. I'm like, seriously, y'all are mumbling. And I quit joking around. Now, this is the first time I'd ever gone out. So this was probably probably about 10 years ago. I went out there. And went in their area that they had activity. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll just go tag along. 10 o'clock in the morning, we're just out walking around. You hear all this, monkey chatter. And you could, you're like, okay, no, they're just messing with me. It's got to be, somebody's mumbling. But, come to find out, no, we all just stopped and listened. Sure enough, it was a bunch of chatter going back and forth. And then we went down into a river bed area out there in that area. And found a nice trackway, so we're following the trackway. And I heard a bunch of noise above us because out there, Stubbefield area, there's a pretty significant creek that runs through there. A lot of people don't know it's over in the wilderness area. And so we were down below following the creek, and we heard all this noise above us. So the guys kind of went around. There's a big bend, so about 2 guys ahead of me went around the bend. I'm back there by myself taking pictures of the footprint and all this other stuff, measuring it, being a real nerd. And I mean, I heard all this, noise busting through bush and everything else and trees. And I look up and there was about a 6.5 foot tall, like looked like a little juvenile, full of hair. We made eye contact. It was kind of one of those, how you catch your child got his hand in the cookie jar. That was pretty much our expressions. We're like, okay, I just busted you, you busted me. And it was so funny because he just froze. I mean, he just absolutely froze and looked at me. We made eye contact. And he just took off, busted through the bush again. And I was yelling for all the guys to come back. And guys came back and they caught a glimpse of it running off into the bushes. But yeah, I had a full face-to-face visual. And I was like, okay, this is really cool.
And how ahead. How close was that?
About 10 feet.
Wow.
I mean, that's really but it's looking up though. I was down below and I'm looking up at this thing. And I mean, he's looking down at me and I mean, clearly I got the eyes were wide, smashed in nose, a lot of hair, but there was no hair. And it looked young, if that makes any sense at all. It really didn't have all the wrinkles and all that. It just looked young.
So you could see some skin in the face?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you could see a lot of it, yeah. And then big, had no neck, had the conical shaped head.
Okay.
So a lot of hair.
What about how tall do you think he was?
Do what?
How tall do you think he was?
I would say from where I was at, probably about 6.5, 7 feet tall.
Oh, really?
But it wasn't. I mean, it was husky, but not like we've seen and all that other stuff out there. I mean, he was husky, but nothing massive. So
yeah,
nothing like our 8 foot 9 feet ones there supposedly out there. So
did his eyes, were you able to tell a color or anything, or were you able to?
I couldn't, no, because it was quick. I mean, we kind of looked at what I saw was white. I didn't see any of the, the red or blue or anything like that, but what I saw was white.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Was there any stench or anything?
Yes, there was a stench. Yes. And it had been following. And the funny thing is, it had been following us all day. I mean, we'd stop, it would stop. So yeah, all day it just continued to follow us around that area. So it was a pretty nasty smell. More like a garbage dump times 10. It was bad. I mean, it was like, until you really smell it, I could describe it to you, but you really have to smell it first. I mean, it's a real putrid, wet dog smell that's just rolled in garbage that's been out for about a couple months in a hot sun somewhere. So yeah.
This is before you got involved in the Oklahoma research?
Yeah, this is way before that. Yeah, this is way before. And so that's how I got hooked on going out to Sam Houston was that. I mean, every time I'd go out there, I'd always have an experience. Always something would happen. Yeah. And in Sam, I've had 4 visuals now in Sam. So
that's, it amazes me. What amazes me about Sam, if you think about of all the national forests nationwide, Sam is probably one of the few that's this close to a big major city.
And referring to Houston?
Yeah. And the fact that, because it's so close to the city, so many people go out to Sam Houston. So to me, it's a lot more, it's a lot busier national forest than a lot of the others you go to.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely.
But what was it? 1993, 94? I'll have to look. But they had a reported sighting right there in the woodlands.
Yeah,
off 45.
I think I've seen that, and I've seen reports, in areas where they're building on the edge of some of these communities where they're building subdivisions on the edge of the national forest and stuff, and I've seen quite a few.
I've even heard of sightings within the city limits, certain parks where creeks run through. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard of sightings in the city as well. But it makes sense.
Huh, yeah.
And it amazes me that it's still such an active location, even considering that there's so many people just coming out there. They're so good at just staying hidden that a majority of people that come out there don't even know they're there. It's amazing. It really is.
Right. You're right.
And at night, you've got to be out there at night, and you've got to be up also. But because it's pretty amazing in some of those areas at night with the way they vocalize.
Yeah,
they're not worried about you hearing them because you'll hear them.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. I mean, you've been to Big Thicket. I mean, y'all both been out to Big Thicket and Sam Houston multiple times, right? So out of the two locations, what would you consider the more active locations as far as your experiences?
To me, they vocalize more in the Sam Houston. The Big Thicket is just less vocalizations, more evidence, more prints, and it's just a weird place. But
so you think that maybe they're not as cautious in the Big Thicket? Maybe
well, I think they're not as cautious in Sam Houston, actually.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah.
In the Big Thicket, you know, I mean, those woods are thick, and they put the Sam Houston to, you know, Sam Houston is like a soccer field on a football field, but because the Big Thicket is very thick, so you can walk by one and, you know, 3 feet away, you won't even see them. So.
But like you and I have talked about, Shane, too, I think what I've noticed since I've been going back out there with T.A.A.P.S is there is a big population growth now out there in Sam.
Oh, yeah.
Because when I was out there, I mean, I never saw any juvenile prints. I'm sure they were out there, but we never saw any. We'd always find, you know, the good trackways and stuff, but we never saw juvenile prints. And it's amazing the amount of juvenile prints that we're finding out there now in Sam. So I don't know what that's all about. I'd like to find the science behind that, why it's such a huge population growth now. So
yeah, you know, that's a good question, and I wouldn't even know how to go about trying to find that kind of data.
Yeah, I've always wanted to pull out a map on Sam Houston and look at it and say, okay, what would probably be the most remote location, the deepest and most remote location in that national forest, and hike out to it.
That would be that wilderness area I was telling you about. Go back in that wilderness area back there.
That and up the West Fork of the San Jacinto.
Yeah,
on the north side of the river. That gets real remote. You know, Roland, the area Roland heads to. You know what I'm talking about, Dave?
Yeah.
That area is really remote, but there's a pipeline up there that is going to be my area to be hitting, you know, whoever wants to join, you know, hopefully everybody, but hitting up that pipeline up that river, because that's where a lot of the vocals come from. And it's a good travel way, especially between Huntsville and Stubblefield.
Yeah.
I think that area that we're in, and we've all talked about this too, between camps where the overflow is and that pipeline area going up on the San Jacinto, like you said, is a highway between us and Sam Houston.
I mean, I've caught so many vocals out there on the recorder that it's crazy, you know. And hopefully, if them repairing that bridge out there doesn't change things, I don't think it will. I think they're setting that travel way. I don't think they're going to change it because it's still out of the way of people.
Yeah.
Have you ever come across anything with just kind of 3 toes?
I did on a woman's property in East Texas on Caddo Lake. They actually found a print, the property owners first, and showed me a picture of it when I was going out there to investigate. And then I actually found one. The strange thing about it was just one print. There were no others. So you could think like, well, maybe it's a pig double step. Well, okay, I'll buy that. But where's the other tracks?
See, I've come across the same thing here in Allegan. Found a print like that, but nothing else.
Yeah, no other track with it.
Are there trees?
No, it was 3 toes.
Yeah.
Huh?
Were there trees nearby?
Yes.
At my place, the trees that were close to it weren't big enough to support anything.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Unless it can jump, 30, 40 feet. But,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was strange. It's a mystery.
And even then, how are they able to jump from tree to tree like that without stripping bark off or tearing off limbs, that kind of thing?
Well go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I could see a juvenile maybe doing that, but I couldn't see a 8-foot tall male necessarily doing that.
right? Yeah.
Well, I think that's where a lot of their muscle mass comes from. The younger ones is starting, climbing those trees, walking on all fours. I think those two things right there is what builds their muscle mass quick. But yeah, once they reach a certain weight, that's going to take an awfully big tree to support one. So.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, climbing up the tree, a big tree, sure. But getting out on a limb, forget about it,
I wonder if that explains for a lot of the ones that are just bent over like this and stuck or broken.
It
Could
could
be.
be. I mean, the thing about it is cold weather does a lot of weird things to young saplings as well. So, especially when it freezes, if ice freezes on the trees, they go back out there and they're bent. So, you got to watch out for that kind of stuff. But.
Yeah.
Tell us about what are some experiences y'all had that just made the hair on your neck stand up?
Oh boy,
There's a few.
Well, I've had three, and they're pretty quick. But one was actually at the Big Sandy unit, and that was just me and my loyal companion Blue, my lab.
Yep.
Out there, and we went a little ways back up into the no hunting area, and I crossed this spring, and I got to this area that was just so thick, you really couldn't go any further, but you're sitting there trying to eyeball a spot to get through, and all of a sudden this odor, it was like a sulfur odor though.
Huh.
It was like a bad sulfur odor, and it was like the air was just stale, and the hair on my neck was standing up, and my gut was just sitting there saying, "Get the hell out of here,"
Yeah.
And when you're alone, or even when you're in a group, man, you get the feeling like that. You got to use your common sense to get out,
Yeah.
And I did.
Did you also experience a lot of people talk about all the crickets, everything just gets, you don't hear anything, it's just dead quiet. Have you experienced that?
We went to a place in the same Houston, and I can't for the life of me remember what trail that was. I'd have to get with the guy that told me about it to begin with to find out again. But I went out there 2 years ago in January when we were out there for 30 days. And we went down this trail. And yeah, it started out as not dead quiet. It was just a lively nighttime forest. And we hiked about 2 miles in and sat around for a while. Nothing was going on. So we started heading back. And that's when everything kind of went quiet. And we stopped. And me and another guy and Blue, my lab. And we're just kind of listening. There's nothing going on. We're like, man, that got weird. And this pine cone hits me in the top of the head. And the guy next to me, his name's Boyd. He's like, he just got a pine cone thrown at you. And I'm like, no, it obviously came from a tree above. We shot our lights up, and there's no pine trees around us. And I'm like, oh, well, okay. And we chalk it up to get the pine cone thrown at us, so we're a little bit more alert now. But we start walking, we don't get maybe 50 more yards when my lab just beelines from between my legs, hair's all standing up. I can barely walk because he's just tripping me up. If he could have, he probably would have walked up into my arms.
Yeah.
I've never seen him act like that. He was scared to death. And at that time, there was no crickets. There wasn't even any wind, which made it even weirder. But it was so thick, this area. We were so unfamiliar with it. We thought the best thing to do was just get out of there.
Yeah.
Because most areas we hike into in the daytime first to get familiar with it before we'll go into it in the nighttime. I just recommend that to anybody. The third time that was weird was this last January when I did a 30-day trip in Sam Houston. And that's at that overflow camp where we were all at. I was out there by myself. Nobody was in the camping area yet, and I decided I'm going to walk down towards the river. And I'm walking across the campground. This is a primitive campground. There's no pigtails or anything. It's basically just a big round spot. Y'all seen it. Yeah. And this odor just hit, and at the same time this odor hits, Blue just starts growling. He stops in his tracks, growling straight into the darkness. And I'm not carrying a light. I'm not carrying my thermal or nothing. A big mistake. And that odor, there's a lot. It was. You remember how flooded it was there at that time. But the smell was as if it had walked through some of that swampy water. Just nasty swamp mud, swamp gas, wet dog smell. I mean, it was horrible. And it had to have been just right in front of me. Blue was freaking out, growling. And it only lasted like 5 seconds. And as soon as it was there, it was gone. And Blue went right back to normal.
Huh.
And I ended my walk right there. Went back to camp to get my equipment. So that was only 3 times I've really been freaked out.
Yeah.
I think my scariest out there at Sam Houston was on Fire Road 26, right there by the campground where Stubblefield Campground is.
Okay.
A bunch of us were out there camping, and we weren't even out doing anything Bigfoot, Sasquatch related. It was a bunch of guys hanging out, having a and some of these guys were not believers in Bigfoot. So weird experiences. We were all sitting in camp, and we decided we'll go for a walk. So we walked down. It was about, I don't know, probably 11 o'clock at night. Walked down Fire Service Road, and as we're walking down the road, we heard all the crickets, all the frogs. It was great. So we got down a couple of miles, decided we'd come back. Well, as soon as we turned around and started walking back, it got dead quiet. Dead quiet. And then this stench kind of overwhelmed us. And about that time, we heard the most ungodly scream that you could ever think of. It sounded like a woman being murdered, like right next to us.
Oh, wow.
All of our hair stood up. We just basically got out of there as quick as we could. It was, I have never experienced anything like that in my entire life. And I mean, my hair stood up, and we're like, no, we need to get out of here.
And you said you had non-believers with you?
Oh, yeah, they were believers after that. Trust me. They were like, okay, yeah.
I bet so.
A couple of these guys were prior military, too, and special forces guys. And they were like, you know what? I don't even want to know what that was. We'll just leave it as unknown, and let's just get the hell out of here. So, yeah. But it was crazy, though, right out there on the Fire Service Road.
That's one times that you wish you had an EKG hooked up to everybody.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. But, yeah, I mean, that's the only time that, I've really been really scared. I mean, Shane and I've had weird stuff happen. Big Thicket. I don't know if we want to approach that or not, but that was very weird what happened to you and I out there. So
yeah, that's
you can tell that story. You tell that story.
Well, you were holding the thermal. I'll tell my part. You tell your part.
Yeah, well, okay. So Shane and I decided we're going to go for a hike. We had another one of our investigators with us, Liz, and up there, Big Sandy, we're walking down this path, and I just got this feeling, like an uneasy feeling, like we were being watched. It just didn't feel right at all. Just the whole thing just did not feel right. And I kept telling Shane, I'm like, dude, I said, man, just something ain't right. I'm not like it. And so we stopped. I got my therm out, and I pointed off to the trail. So as I'm pointing my therm, I focus on a group of pine trees. And just like the movie Predator, the pine trees were literally pulsating. I mean, you could see the heat signature. You could see them pulsating like this. Craziest thing. And I told Shane, I'm like, come here and look at this. And it was humid. I mean, it was really humid. What, probably about 100% humidity out there.
Oh,
so
yeah,
we thought, hey.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we thought, hey, maybe it's equipment failure. Okay, whatever. And I was getting a heat signature about 84 on the therm. So I had Shane's like, well, let me turn mine on. So Shane turned his on, and we're standing right next to each other, and his showed the same thing as mine. It was a continual, like, pulsating like this. And I told Shane, I said, why don't you walk out there and just see what we got? So Shane walks out there. It's probably, how far off the trail would you say? About
probably 20 yards, 25
20 yards maybe? Yeah, 20 yards. So he walks out there, and I'm watching the whole time with the therm. Well, as he gets close to these trees, this pulsating whatever it was moved to another set of trees. And it dropped.
It's almost like it was trying to hide behind a tree. But
yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, like
That
trying
is
to
weird.
hide behind a tree. But the weird thing is within what, a matter of seconds, it went from 84 degrees to 78 degrees on the heat signature, which is makes no sense.
Yeah.
No
Mhm.
sense at all. I mean, there's no reason for that to happen.
That's a big.
So
big
Shane's
change.
Shane's out there and he's like, Dave goes, what'd you say?
I said
said-
I got a very dreadful feeling over here. So
Yeah.
it was a
So
very weird feeling.
Huh.
that whole area was weird. I mean, that whole feeling, you know. So I don't know what we stumbled across, but I do know there's a lot of Indian burial grounds out there. So who knows? Who
And
knows
then,
what we came?
you got to add to that because which was also a very cool moment for myself, I may say, but also something really weird because we decided to go ahead and continue to walk, which was
Well,
only
yeah,
about
I'm gonna let
maybe
you tell
another
that.
30 yards to the pipeline. And we got to the pipeline and we decided, let's just sit here for a little while. I mean, we're kind of dead smack in the middle, or about the middle of this pipeline. You can look up and down, and it's dark, but you got a decent amount of moonlight. So it was just perfect environment just to sit there and kind of listen. And I don't think we were sitting down for maybe 10 minutes. And to this day, I still don't know what to think about it. But this thing flew over us, but it had a sound of, but 3 times as fast as that.
So
Imagine taking a big stick and throwing it, and it makes that kind of rotary sound to fly
Yeah.
through the air.
well,
Like a helicopter.
I've heard of logs being thrown, and you hear it sounds kind of has that rotor
Yeah.
sound. Was it something
That's
like
what it
that?
reminded me of. We were all like, "What the hell was that?" And we heard nothing land. We didn't hear anything
Yeah,
land.
Nothing
anywhere.
landed.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it was mind-boggling, especially after what had just happened.
And
10 minutes earlier.
if it was something thrown that was causing that sound, did it sound like something large? By the way, something pretty
It
large.
had to be big enough to make that sound to fly into the air like that.
I think what we compared to is like a boomerang. You know, when you throw a
Yeah.
boomerang
Yeah.
and you get that
Mhm.
sound,
Yeah.
that's what it sounded like.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it sounded like.
Now, I would say we didn't hear it hit anything, but it also could have been because we were, kind of loud at that point, going, "What the hell is that?"
Yeah.
So something could have landed, and we just didn't hear it. But it was chalked up to very strange.
Was that
And,
going out into the field, the open area?
yeah, that's sitting on the pipeline. And I think that was about 10:45 p.m. And I was telling those guys, after we calmed down from that, I said, the vocals out here usually don't start until at least 11 p.m. And sure enough,
Sure enough,
you,
right at 11
Sasquatch.
o'clock.
Thank you, Sasquatch.
Yep.
11 p.m. on the dot, we get a great vocal.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Made
I
me
thought-
look good.
I thought Shane had that staged. I think he talked to Billy out there and said, "Hey, man, 11 o'clock, fire it up, man."
Yeah,
I think that's what happened.
Did you
pure
catch that?
coincidence.
Did you catch it on recorder? That one?
No, that was the thing is we had a recorder right there where we were sitting. I put that recorder out a day and a half earlier, and when I went to get that thing, it said full on it, full battery, but it said the recording data was full, which makes no sense whatsoever. And I took it and downloaded it, and all I caught was one night, which was the first night I was out there by myself, and it rained all night.
Oh yeah.
But there's no reason why that recorder should have said full. It should have recorded for at least 4 or 5 days as usual. So it's just another weird thing about it.
That is weird.
It is. I mean, your electronic, all your gear starts sailing. It was in that same area, right? Where we had that. Yeah, so he just recorded in that same area. We had that trees and the thing thrown over our heads. So it's just weird. Very, very odd. It was just a weird feeling, that whole area.
Yeah.
That's where the juvenile track was at in the morning when we woke up, and you had the fingerprint on your truck.
Yeah, I had a fingerprint on my truck. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I didn't find that till Monday morning. It was so funny because Shane and I were talking, and I just we saw the footprints leading up to my truck. I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. All right, checking out the truck, whatever. But I noticed on the other side where I had my tonneau cover, when I got home, it was kind of pulled up, like something that, was messing with it. There was dirt all over it. I'm like, what the heck? And then I just happened to look at my truck, and there was that fingerprint that I shared with you guys. And I mean, you clearly see the dermal ridges and all that. So
Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
greasy too. So,
yeah, it was really greasy. So
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah, it was cool. It was
I'm
we're
really
gonna
cool.
have to get you out there, Todd, but maybe we don't get stuck this time. So
Yeah. I'm gonna be a little more cautious this next time.
We gotta get Josh out there with us too, man. We gotta get
Yeah.
Oh,
Josh
I'd
out.
love to.
oh
If
yeah,
I
absolutely.
get him to come back down to Texas, he loves Michigan so much, I can't even come back down here
Well,
anymore.
I've been doing a lot of research up here, so it's been keeping me busy. That and the 168 with Carrie takes a lot of time.
But if you got bit by the bug, to come out to the big thicket, though, man. I mean, I know you've done a lot of research out there, so
Oh, I want to go up to his area now.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'd be happy to have y'all.
Yeah, he's got
Yeah,
some,
definitely sometime.
Maybe y'all can come out to the conference.
Do what?
Maybe y'all can come out to the conference.
When is the conference?
July 17th in
July
Ann Arbor.
17th.
yeah, we're heading up there. We're heading up there for a week.
Dang.
We're
Yeah.
gonna have Cliff, Adam Davies, Carrie's gonna be there. I mean, we're gonna have here. Let me see. I can pull it up and y'all can see it. We're gonna have quite a few people. Ken Gearhard, Igor, Jason Kinsey. Quite a few people.
Nice.
That's nice, man. Yeah.
Yeah, July 15th, I'll be in Colorado, unfortunately. But,
No.
well, I
quite
don't
an
want to say
event.
Are you
unfortunately.
gonna be looking for Bigfoot up there?
No, I'm going with my brother and my mom. We've been planning a trip for a couple of years, so we're finally doing it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. If it was up to me, yeah, I'd be out there looking for Bigfoot. But
it
I don't think so.
takes little side trips or something.
Side trips and stuff.
Hey, Dave, so when you were doing research up north, what are some of the things you experienced up there? Would you say?
Well, I mean,
Would you say that?
I mean, the rock throws. I mean, I've had rocks thrown at me. I mean, I've been charged.
What
You know,
I was just wondering if you noticed any kind of different behavior up there than what you've experienced down here.
that's a great question. Yes, I have. Which is, I think up there they're so used to the researchers and the investigators up there. It's like no big deal to them. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're kind of like, okay, yeah, they're here, whatever, and they've kind of moved off and
Because you
away from the cabin.
you were visiting, you were frequenting often.
I've been up there a couple of times, yeah. But I mean, that's just from other researchers too. Went up there all the time. Finally got to the point where, they're like, okay, yeah, they're here, no big deal. And, the activity kind of slacked off. But I think now, and I'll say the big thicket, and I'll also say with Sam, is what I think now is I think they're starting to see more human activity there in Sam, as far as us going into their territory, out in the woods more, and actually looking for these animals. They're starting to get curious of us and wondering what the heck we're doing. I mean, clearly that happened to us last time we were out there at Sam, all of us together. I mean, how close they all came in.
Yeah.
Now, in the big thicket, I think there's a lot of activity going on in the big thicket, but I think too that we're just now starting to get out there. And I think once we start working that area and start doing more research,
Yeah,
I think we're going to start having more visuals. I really do
absolutely.
because I think they're curious. They're like little, they're like they want to know what we're doing. Same with we want to know what they're doing. They want to know what we're doing.
yeah, that makes sense.
My one nighttime visual was out there at the Big Sandy, and that was Lily Road. A dirt road we got to go on to get to the location. I was going around a curve on that at night, and around the curve to the left, my headlights had not hit that area yet. But the guy that was with me and my wife were looking out the right side of the car with a thermal. And I just happened to look left because these eyes caught my attention, big red eyes.
Is that
and
right?
you could see the silhouette, and he was sitting up on the left side of the bank of the road.
That was reflecting off the headlights?
No, my lights weren't hitting this yet.
Oh, okay.
And I had just caught this and looked at it. And the cool thing about it was you could see the silhouette, but what had my attention was the eyes.
Yeah.
And this happened really fast. And as I'm looking at it, you could tell it turned as it goes from two eyes to one eye. no eyes, and it was gone. I mean, it is gone fast, you know. So I'm hitting the gas at that point, trying to get around the curve to it. And we stopped there, and it's thick, but you can hear something walking through real slow. There was no way a thermal was going to penetrate those woods, though. But,
yeah.
But I definitely think the activity, though, out in Sam has picked up. And I don't know why. I don't know. But the activity certainly has picked up out at Sam.
Well, there's always a reason for movement. You just don't know what it is. But the good thing about the big thicket is there's not a lot of traffic in a lot of those units out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Land Rosier unit, there's miles of woods that are just, there's no trails, nothing.
Yeah.
You know, the Big Sandy, there's miles of woods with no trails or nothing.
Yeah.
Have y'all ever seen any lights out there? Strange lights?
At the Big Sandy, my wife and brother-in-law saw an orb when we were out there camping one time. They started freaking out about it, talking about, you know, yelling at the orb, the orb, the orb, man. We ran over there, and by the time we got there, it was gone. But there was something really interesting about that area. Is probably the year prior, I was out there with somebody else, you know, a young gentleman. We were hiking back there. Where they saw this orb at was where the area we were at. And it was probably 2 o'clock in the morning. And there was a strange flash that just went off like 360 degrees around us. This flash. And it was that was probably the strangest thing I've ever encountered.
Looked like a camera flash, kind of?
It's kind of like a camera flash, but it was so white and it was all around us.
Is that right?
Yeah, and we both just stopped. We were stumped, you know, just dumbfounded. We didn't know what to say. And so the next year when she saw that orb, you know, I was like, well, now that's interesting. That's coming from the same area where we were at, and we had that flash, you know.
A couple of the guys that were out there at our group deal a few weeks ago were telling me about a similar thing in Sam Houston that they encountered. A light.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, something similar to what you're saying.
A ranger in Florida told me they experienced something like that.
A flash?
A flash. They were driving down one of the back roads, and they thought somebody was taking a picture of them. And so they stopped to see what it was, and they couldn't find any source of where it would have come from.
Yeah, it was the same thing with us. We looked and nothing made sense. So,
well,
you know,
also too, now don't forget out where, and Todd and I talked about this too, out in that area in the big thicket of southeast Texas is what they call the Light of Saratoga.
Right.
Which is very close to the big thicket. And I was just happening to look it up. It's known as the Ghost Road of Saratoga. It's a light that just appears out of nowhere. It's really interesting.
Yes.
But that's right in that area too.
Or is it a light that's on for a little while, emanates for a while?
Yeah, it's a light that'll stay on and it just disappears.
Yeah, that's strange.
Lights, huh?
Yeah, so that's in that area. That's in that general area. Saratoga ghost lights. It's fascinating.
Well, I mean, you could definitely chalk it up to paranormal. So.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and if it's okay, you know, for anybody that's listening, if they want to hear the vocals that we catch out there in Sam Houston, go to the YouTube channel. Just type in the TAAPS, T.A.A.P.S, in the YouTube search. That'll usually pull up one of the videos. You can go to the rest of them from there. You know, if it doesn't pull up under TAAPS, just type in Texas Acknowledgment Awareness, and they should pull up right there. But,
also, too, we got that good. Check out our good flare too that we caught. Out there.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Flare capture.
Did you see that, Josh?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Did you see that flare that we caught out there, Sam?
Yes, my dad did show me.
You saw the video or the?
You sent me the picture. I have not seen the video.
Okay.
What were your thoughts on the picture?
From what I could see, it looked like something upright walking. Yeah. From what I could see.
Yep.
Yeah, the video.
Of course, I couldn't tell size or anything like that, but
I think you
could definitely tell it was upright.
Yeah, I think you get a better idea on the video than you can with the picture. I'll have to.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially having a visual, you know, about an hour before that, you know.
Did you post? Yeah, one of the listeners
Yeah, I see that. I don't think you want to know why their hands are greasy. That's awesome. Well, yeah, there's that. Thanks.
This just turned into a whole different show. All right.
Well, no, now we got some good DNA. Now, there you go.
Yeah. That's funny.
Oh man, that's good. That's good stuff, man.
Yeah, thanks for the laugh. Yeah.
Right?
And the image I can't get out of my head now. So yeah.
Right? I'll never look at my truck the same. Thanks. My truck's been violated. Thanks.
So how many members do you have on with TAAPS now?
Oh gosh, I think we're at 917 now. So
Wow, that's growing.
yeah, it's been a slow build, but I'm fine with that. Actually, we've had some discussion of when we get to a certain number, we may stop for a while.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to become like one of the bigger groups where just nothing is monitored.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen groups where people are called names, people are made fun of.
Yeah.
That's I don't want to. You know, we don't want to become that.
Yeah. I totally understand that.
Yeah, I understand. Yep.
Too much of that going on now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So how did Dave and Shane? How'd y'all meet?
Prison.
Yeah, that was a good time.
Cellmate, no.
I was going to say something.
I remember it was a beautiful day in the shower and Dave dropped the soap.
Right. Oh man. No, it's funny because I had heard about TAAPS, and I had heard some things about Shane, so I just started doing some research and got hold of some people I know and kind of started talking to Shane. I'm like, he's a pretty solid guy, and I'm not saying that just because he's Shane, but no, he really is. He's a good, solid investigator. He's got a lot of knowledge. You just got to be careful because there's a lot of strange, wacko groups out there that you really have to be careful of. And I think this is a pretty solid group of guys and girls that go out there. So it's a good organization.
Yeah, you got that right, man. That's one really, really big positive of this group is meeting a lot of good people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Sometimes
and you've done that.
Good people are, hard things to come by these days. So
they are. I mean, right.
Until I joined up and it went downhill.
Oh yeah, everything went to hell. Yeah.
Well, that explains a lot.
As soon as you came in the picture, we're like, oh hell, what are we gonna do now?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think and I'm gonna just say that TAAPS, we have and I'm not going to go into details. I will just say that we have some interesting opportunities, I think, coming up next year. Once this COVID thing lifts, I think we've got some pretty cool stuff coming down the line for us. So as far as DNA research goes and stuff like that. So
yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Do you all plan on doing any investigations anywhere else in any other states besides the Big Thicket? And
yes, we're hoping on a trip to Colorado.
I was going to say trip to Colorado.
Yeah, we got some connections in Oklahoma. So
yeah, Josh, we've talked. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Shane.
Oh, so we got some. Liz has got your sister in Oklahoma, so hopefully we get up there, and maybe a little bit in Arkansas. But the problem is the to-do list is just too massive.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I think one of the areas on our target list here in Texas is 4-notch. Everybody keeps saying we got to go to 4-notch. So I think in the fall, that's probably where we're going to go in September, October. We'll do a little week-long investigation out to 4-notch, Monkey Pond, and all that. So
and cattle grasslands.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I would love to go out there
because that is the one place where I've been where once everybody gets in their tents, all hell breaks loose.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
So that's near the Cattle Lake in that area, I assume.
No, this is a cattle grasslands. This is actually north Greenville. east of Farmersville. It's a pretty
Oh.
big area. There's several little lakes in the area.
Okay.
The particular lake we'd be going to is Coffee Mill Lake, and it's interesting.
Okay. So you've been out there before already.
Yeah, I went out there with a couple of guys, Stephen Kitchens and Boyd. I guess. Well, actually, it was October, and matter of fact, that's where we recorded the breathing. The one breathing. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And that's where we went behind the dam at night, and hiked back there and played the harmonica and got like juvenile responses. Yeah, it's a great place.
Hmm.
Do y'all ever do any gifting, like with peanut butter or apples?
Yes.
Had any interaction with that?
Yeah, we well, on this woman's property, I told her to put some apple slices in a Ziploc bag to see if they had the knowledge to open it, or if they would just bite into it. And the first bag she did got beautiful bite marks. The teeth marks are absolutely perfect. And right now that bag is in New York. It got some tests done to it, but hopefully it gets sent back to me pretty soon because I want to frame it. It's just really cool. And then there was the peanut butter jar that we left out at Sam, or who was it? Paul Ragsdale left that out there.
Yeah, Paul.
Yeah. And then I ended up moving it and leaving it on the ground. And then Todd, you and Mark found it.
Yep.
There were deep fingerprints in that thing. You could tell where the hand wouldn't fit in the jar anymore because it couldn't get any more peanut butter out. But,
Yeah. There was just a little bit of peanut left they couldn't quite reach.
Yeah. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool. And they tore the cap on that one.
Yeah. But sometimes we'll glue the lids down on the peanut butter, and because it takes a little bit of strength to get those open at that point.
Really? Okay.
They've done
I
that.
thought about that. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And then we had the one come through the camp that did a finger swipe of the brownie that was there that we left out on the table. Yeah, it was a perfect finger swipe. Like a little kid just went like this. Yep.
That reminds me. January. See, it was me. Yeah. I woke up with chocolate on the side of my mouth there. Yeah.
Now we know who did it.
It wasn't me. There's white strip on the side of your mouth.
But that was still weird because that couldn't have been a raccoon because that lid was on there tight. And when we got up the next morning, that lid was off, flipped up on the ground, and a finger drug through the brownie. So yeah, there's no raccoon that could have done
I'm pretty happy it didn't like the brownie because
yeah, me too.
On the other side of it, so.
Right? It was a good brownie.
Yeah. But in January, when we go out there, we do a 30-day thing out there. But I had gotten out there first, and same thing. I was out there by myself at this camp. Nobody else had arrived yet. And that first night, I had a fridge bag. Wasn't any wider than this. She had a zipper on top, and I had a bag of apples on the bottom. There was a bag of oranges on top of the apples, and then bananas on top of that. And they were stacked that way because the width of the bag wasn't very big. And that next morning when I got up, which would have been day 2, the zipper was undone. The oranges were still in the bag. The bananas are still in the bag. So I'm thinking I'm going to give me an apple and take the bananas out, the oranges out, and the apples are gone. I mean, it took the apples, put the oranges back in the bag, and the bananas back in the bag. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I've got the most polite Sasquatch ever here.
and picky.
Right?
So that's the first time I've had that happen where it took something and put everything back the way it was. But
it's nice of them to do that, though,
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think would have been nice too, but
Oh yeah.
Y'all ever how many prints have y'all casted?
Ooh. It's funny you say that because the first year and a half when I really got into this, I didn't even care about casting. I had that mindset that everybody does it, so why should I do it? But now I'm into casting, and I wish I had started casting when I first got into it because I'm missing great opportunities. But, I think I've got maybe 5 cast at the house. I've given some away that we find out in the woods to people that just want to cast, or their mom wants to cast or something. You know, just give it to them.
I can't. Go get my foot.
Something's happening with David's audio.
No, Dave's here. Now I'm going to get my little baby, the baby footprint.
Anybody else here, Dave?
What? You can't hear me? Hold on. What?
Oh, oh yeah.
Is that better? Is it working?
Dave, Dave, are you there?
I'm here. Dave's not here.
I
Dave's
can't
not
hear
here.
nothing.
You really can't?
Todd, can you hear me though?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I don't know what Shane's problem is. Shane, you're frozen again.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
I can hear Dave.
But you can't hear us?
Y'all sound electrified. Like,
Huh.
Uh-oh.
Sound like we're at a rave. I don't know what's going on.
I don't either, man. I don't know what you got going on over there. Something. I don't know. But no, we've learned now the word on the street now is when in doubt, cast it. So we're gonna cast everything. But I do have this little print that we caught out at Sam.
Oh, wow.
That's a little baby, little juvenile that Shane actually casted. I don't know if you can
Guys,
see
if
it.
you can hear me, I'm going to come out and come back in.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's a good cast.
But there's a trying to get where you see the toe. See the. I'll put it like that. Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can see it.
I can see it
Yeah.
good.
When did you cast that?
That was done 3/20 of 21.
Okay.
I mean, it was really recent. We just found it and going back towards the creek over there in the overflow at Camp Stubblefield.
Was it a single footprint or were there multiple?
There were multiple footprints out
Okay.
there. Multiple. Yeah. There were adults. There was a couple more juveniles. And so, yeah, it was pretty cool that we actually found it. So
That is cool. I don't see many of those.
that's what I mean, there are so many juvenile little tracks out there. It's crazy what we found. So
To me, the juveniles are the most exciting ones to find. Unless you find an enormous one that's, 17, 18 inches plus.
it's kind of neat. And you find the little ones where they've been following mom and dad. It's kind of cool to see that,
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be cool to see.
Yeah, we found juvenile tracks that are like stepped into the bigger track. So that's pretty cool because it shows them walking, right behind
Yeah.
the bigger one.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Found poop out there.
Poop.
Oh, yeah.
Do you do taste test on that? Or?
Yeah, Dave did. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I did. Didn't taste like chicken, that's for sure. Does not taste like chicken.
Yeah, we're going to leave the taste testing completely up to Dave because I'm out on that.
Yeah, I'm glad he doesn't mind doing it. We needed.
Yeah, I'm gonna take one for the team. I'm gonna take one for the team, man. There you
Take
go.
a few for the team.
That's it, man. Whatever it takes, man.
Both with the poop and the grease.
Just make sure you got it on video. That's all I ask.
Hey, Jason, do you come across any kind of stick structures or glyphs up there, Michigan?
Say that again?
Do you come across any kind of stick structures or glyphs on the ground?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
More structures than glyphs. Glyphs are very not very common up here from what I've seen, but I do see a lot of breaks and structures.
Okay.
Structures are very common up here. It's almost unreal how many I've seen.
Yeah, I think those are more common up north than they are in the south. But
Yeah, I'm not sure why.
it seems like in the
strange.
south, they'll just crawl into some brush and crash. But
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Josh
that
found-
heat and humidity.
yeah.
Josh found a place, just a few miles from the house where there's activity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
You don't have to go far at all.
No, about 20 minutes.
Oh, that's nice, man.
Yeah,
That's
I'm jealous.
great.
And that's not far from where you had the sighting, right?
It's exactly where I had the sighting.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah, that's my research area. That's where, I've found a lot of tracks out there. I've sent some to you, Dad, that I've shown you.
Yeah.
When you get a chance, you should show them. They're pretty good. Haven't come across anything castable yet. I'm hoping. Got my fingers crossed.
It'll happen when you don't have any casting material, guaranteed.
Yeah, of course.
Well, I try to cover all bases. I keep about a 40-pound bag of casting material at my house, just in case. But with my luck, I'll be down in the swamps and won't have any way to get to it.
Right?
Yeah, that's how it'll work.
That's exactly what'll happen too. You find a big, nice track and won't have it with you.
Yeah, but
So
no,
what kind of vocals are you hearing up north? Like, what are the main vocals you hear?
Owl.
Owl?
Mimic. Owl mimics.
Okay.
Actually,
You mean they say owl are hurting like they're hurting?
no. Actually, the other night, I heard something trying to mimic an owl. It was the worst mimic I've ever heard in my entire life. It seriously sounded like somebody out there just trying to, learn how to copy an owl.
Yeah.
And there's nobody else out there.
Class for this class yet is mimicking 101 class.
Yeah. And as soon as I pull the recorder out, of course it stops.
The way it works.
That's it. It's the way it happens.
I think they enjoy it. I think they do that on purpose. They just enjoy it. They're like, let's hide behind this tree and see let's see if they catch us on this thermal or not.
Yeah, that could be their way of playing right there.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that I've, the area I researched, I've come across just about everything except screaming and whooping.
Have you left the recorder out overnight?
Nope, I want to. That's my next attempt.
So you didn't heard
you might get your really good vocals.
Yep.
Leaving the recorder
I imagine. The activity always seems to cease around 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, even when you stay in tents out there. So I'm thinking they're moving off to another area around that time. They're done playing, they're ready to go hunt, kind of thing. So I try to get out there as soon as it gets dark. That way I can, be amidst all the activity and the playfulness. I've tried leaving peanut butter out there for a few nights, but never had any luck with that yet. They seem to be a little cautious with that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
they may be on keto.
I'm thinking if I try it enough, they'll eventually give in.
Try some cotton candy.
Cotton candy, huh?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, that's
Just
a good
try
idea.
It may work for juveniles. I mean, what kid doesn't like cotton candy? So
I haven't tried any apples yet. I want to.
Putting toys out, little toys or anything? You ever tried that? Anybody?
I haven't. No.
No. I've heard the idea, but I've never heard anybody
shiny either, because supposedly, squirrels and even raccoons will take shiny things. So
yeah, true.
So putting marbles out to me is just unless you put them in a design and your design has changed, then that shows intelligence. But if they're just gone, that could be squirrels,
right?
Raccoons.
Now I have heard the glow stick thing where they actually will go after glow sticks and they'll actually move them. Put glow sticks up in a tray, and you go out the next morning and they're gone, and you'll find them a couple days later, a mile or so away from where it was. So yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll have to try that.
Yep.
Anything you try,
So yeah, I mean, there's no surefire way what's going to lure these, in. So you got to try everything. I mean, that's what we do. Try it.
Experiment and.
Yep.
And think outside the box. Yep.
That's right.
Exactly.
They're just like us. They're all different,
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like if you put enough camera traps out there, one's bound to slip up.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I think the juveniles are more inclined to making the mistakes than anything else. But
yeah.
They're still going on the learning curve. So
yeah, exactly.
Right. Well, Dave, anything else? Anything else you can tell us about the research you did up north?
Nah, not much. Nah.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it's an interesting area. I mean, from what what's been put out there is pretty much true. But yeah, I mean, I think the activity now is far better here.
Yeah.
Than I've ever seen it up north. I mean, really.
Okay.
I mean, just with here recently with everything that's going on. So
right. Yeah, it's been for sure.
I mean, it's just the whole thing with all the juveniles. Just I'm still scratching my head over that. Why we're seeing so many out there now?
Well, it's a good thing.
It's a great thing. Oh yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I mean, with the habitat that's out there, it's definitely showing that it can support these animals out there with the population growth now too. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well,
they're probably enjoying the quiet now because nobody wants to get out in this heat down here.
Oh yeah, I ain't going out there.
Heck no. No, we learned our lesson.
Out there in a big sandy, that was horrible.
Yeah, we learned our lesson. We're not doing that again. Yep, not gonna happen.
Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time to come on.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for having us, man. It was good. Good
time.
I'd
love to have you again after y'all been out some more and hear some more of your stories. Hopefully, I can make it out there and go out with you guys.
We'd love for you to join us.
Don't come until the fall though.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
It's too hot right now, huh?
Like October, November.
By yourself. Yeah.
Yep.
We'll show you on a map. You go.
Yeah, we'll show you on a map. So here you go. Have fun.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. We'll even make it easy for you, Josh. We'll drive you out there in our air-conditioned vehicles. We'll drop you off, and we'll give you a map and say, "Here you go. Call us when you need us."
Yeah, go out in Dave's truck because it's the only one that doesn't get stuck.
I know, right? Yeah, I'm the only one. And they like my truck anyway, so we'll just use that as bait. So there you go.
Yeah.
So, and that's twice that things have happened to my truck since we've been out doing this stuff. So we had that happen out there at the overflow. So, yeah.
Awesome.
But, yeah, man, come on out, man. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll as soon as I know when, I'll let my dad know. He can let you guys know, and
we'll make it happen.
Absolutely. All right, I'm gonna end the show, and if y'all guys want to stay on after, you can.
Well, I'm gonna get this woman out to the. I was gonna say out to a restaurant. Yeah, we'll say that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's late for you, man. It's like 9 o'clock, 9:15, man.
Oh, the evening's just gonna start.
Oh boy. Okay.
You ever been streaking in Port Aransas?
Do what?
You ever been streaking in Port Aransas?
No. But if you need bail money, just let me know, okay? Just let me know. Yeah, I got you, okay? You make that one phone call, you call me, okay?
See, we don't just do squashing. We have a lot more fun than other stuff.
I know.
Oh, yeah. That's just, yeah.
Well, it was nice to meet you, Shane.
Hey, you too. Thanks for having us, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Really appreciate you coming on.
No, thanks for having us on. And yeah, Josh, finally, it's good to see your face, man. I've talked to you off and on.
Yeah, you too.
Through your dad and stuff. So.
Oh, real quick before we go, Shane, is there anything? I know you have the TAAPS Facebook page. There's YouTube. Is there any other media out there that you need to tell the audience about, or?
No, Facebook and YouTube, the only ones I use. If you want to hit up the Facebook group, come on. It's best way to find it is actually go to the YouTube and click the Facebook icon. That way you'll get to listen to all the audio we've cast here and go to Facebook. So double win.
There you go.
There you go.
And also, too, if anybody wants to join us in the fall, we're going to do a couple research trips. So if anyone wants to join us, just let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be happy to have you.
Sounds good.
And if anybody wants any areas investigated or has got any tips on other areas, just email us. You can email shane.lee41@yahoo.com. Or you can go to the group, or you can go to the YouTube channel and message through there. Whatever you prefer.
All right, good stuff.
right.
All right, fellas. Thanks for having us, man. It's a good times.
Yeah,
Appreciate
absolutely.
All right, y'all have a good night.
Y'all
it. All right,
too.
man.
as
Be
well.
careful.
Enjoy your trip.
All right.
Okay.